So we are now in the final days of November of 2024. It is the 27th, and basically we have a lot of things looming for December of this year for the Walt Disney Company. We already know that those out there, like Disney CEO Bob Iger, are beginning to go into full-on double down mode as well as damage control mode in order to desperately protect Snow White 2025, starring Rachel Zegler, because we know that this movie is going to bomb on a different level that we have never seen before, by a Disney, of course, movie, by the way. And we already know a lot of this has to do with Rachel Zegler's comments on social media and how Disney forced her to apologize, all of these different strategies that failed one after the other. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So we know that Bob Iger is the worst Disney CEO, period, and by the time 2026 comes around, which by the way is going to be the very year that he plans to step down, I believe that you're not going to get somebody better, you're going to get somebody worse. There's no doubt about that. But focusing on Bob Iger in isolation, we know that he is now going into full-on damage control mode over the overall backlash situation for Snow White. We know that there's been a large shakeup happening between himself and the board of directors. Some board members are pressuring Bob Iger to really go into damage control for this movie, while other board members are really pressuring him to really become more truly transparent with the general public, which he's not going to do. But what's interesting here has a lot more to do with Bob Iger going into a full-on meltdown over the Snow White boycott, over the general public's reaction toward Rachel Zegler and the comments that she made, and let's get into it. So, with, of course, both the film industry and the media now in shambles, many of those in the industry are beginning to go on the blame game train toward the general public, however, one of which being the Walt Disney Company and its CEO Bob Iger are now in freefall mode after the backlash against Snow White and Rachel Zegler. Iger delivered the following in a desperate move to protect the image of the Walt Disney Company at all costs. As CEO, there is no question that it is my responsibility to remain transparent and direct with both of our customers and shareholders alike. I would like to address the ongoing criticism toward one of our upcoming features, such as Snow White and its lead star, Rachel Zegler. What we do not tolerate here at the Walt Disney Company are those part of our core customer base promoting a false narrative that we are part of any kind of an agenda. The comments coming from the public about our lead, Rachel Zegler, are not only inaccurate but rather offensive and something that we do not tolerate at the Disney Company. We are asking everyone, both customers, newcomers, and potential customers, to let the product speak for itself in 2025, and to allow a film as large as Snow White to prove itself to the world. I would also like to address that we hold no concern over our latest live-action feature based on an animated classic, as many have reported that we are concerned over our latest project. This is false and nothing more than a move to devalue our latest film, Snow White, and its lead, Rachel Zegler, who we felt deserved to serve as the epitome of diversity, equity, and inclusion at the forefront of a film as big as this that not only steers from the source material of the original, but also it provides brand new meaning to the character and her values and her reason in life. So guys, let me just stop here for one moment. Bob Iger is literally confirming that they are shifting away from the source material of Snow White 1937 and the Brothers Grimm tale, which is where it all began, by the way. It did not begin with Disney back in 37, just a little trivia for there. But what's interesting on top of all this, is that Bob Iger, once again, is saying openly that they are providing new meaning to the character of Snow White. Now, I think that what he's alluding to is what Rachel Zegler was very much direct about, is that her name, Snow White, is all about her surviving a blizzard as a child. That's how she got the name from her parents. It has nothing to do with the original description by the Brothers Grimm, or heck, even in the 1937 original. Moving on, he goes on to continue. I tend to find the word woke and agenda being thrown around all the time about our company, and I think nobody even knows what the word agenda or woke even means. If it means that we are in support of diversity, equity, and inclusion, then yes, We have no plans of taking a step back from that as long as I remain here as CEO. We value diversity, equity, and inclusion, and especially in a film like Snow White, and believe that Miss Zegler will provide the world a revolutionary view of the character that dives deep into a connection with the real-world issues that we deal with today. We view this as a necessary move on our end to make the film more relatable to our audience. So he's saying that by making Snow White about making it relatable to real-world issues is a way to actually relate to the audience, I think is a very poor and weak choice, just to actually be very honest with you guys. I think it's a very terrible idea. I think it's going to make matters even worse. He goes on to conclude, I see a ton of criticism about our film, and it's something that's coming from a place of politics, I believe. We are beginning to see criticism and its roots connected to politics more and more, and it's safe to come to the assumption that this is what we are dealing with our film Snow White. We have full confidence in this film performing well, or perhaps even beyond our expectations, as we engage in some revisions to the film in the coming weeks. We will keep everyone updated as this time moves on. So, what he's also alluding to at the end there is about the revisions. This is all due in part to the upcoming reshoots, and yes, reshoots are on the horizon. Not just for Snow White, but now they're talking about doing reshoots for Captain America 4, Brave New World, right? Which, by the way, is not confirmed just yet. Those are just actual conversations. But Snow White reshoots are looming for December of this year, right around the middle of next month, alright? Now, look, we know at the same exact time, this could either delay or significantly snag the overall release date for Snow White from March until the summer of next year. That's on the table right now, something that we have discussed before in the past, that Bob Iger and the Disney execs have thrown that idea around constantly, but what's even more revealing here is the fact that he is trying to protect Rachel Zegler like no tomorrow. We know that behind the scenes it's a very ugly scene between Bob Iger, the Disney board of directors. Many of them despise Rachel Zegler and what she posted on social media, the comments that she displayed twice now that have truly damaged the image of the Walt Disney Company. Which, by the way, it was already damaged, but now it's digging themselves into a deeper hole that they can't seem to get themselves out of. But overall, I think at the end of the day, Bob Iger is really just making things worse by protecting this movie, by protecting Rachel Zegler, and by truly saying everything's coming from a false narrative, everything's coming from politics, and how he finds it to be very offensive. It's not making anything better at all. If anything, it's making things worse for the marketing campaign of Snow White, the live-action remake. So again, like I said before, I think that this could very well be the next Acolyte. Acolyte was a Star Wars TV show that debuted back in June of this year. It bombed, and it was horrific, and it did not serve any kind of positivity to the Disney shareholders or to the customers. In fact, if anything, it lost a lot of customers. So overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about Bob Iger going into damage control mode over Snow White and the ongoing backlash. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.